So my mother has a new gynecologist. Yeah, I didn't need to know that either. But now I do. And you do as well. Settle in. This is a good one. Dear Michael, the day after I read a piece in the New Yorker about chronic fatigue syndrome, I was too tired to get out of bed. Your father says I'm overly susceptible to the power of suggestion. One thing's for sure, there was no way I was going to tell my doctor. You've met Dr. Lisa, right? The GP who specializes in sarcasm and hypochondria. Instead of treating me like an intelligent, informed adult, she accuses me of self-diagnosing. Remember the year I broke my left foot in Yosemite? Well, after it healed, I told Dr. Lisa my left leg looked larger than my right leg. My exact words were, I might have lymphedema in my left leg. I've seen people in the nursing home with the condition, and the symptoms appear to be identical. I don't see any signs of lymphedema at all, she said, looking at my leg and shaking her head. But when I'm in the shower and look down, my left leg definitely looks larger than my right one. Do you know what she said to me? She said, don't look down at your legs when you're in the shower. Your father said she was kidding, but I beg to differ. When we got back from Florida, I told Dr. Lisa I wasn't feeling well and wondered if I could have contracted dengue fever. Margaret, she said, you do not have a tropical disease. I didn't mention that I had just finished a John Grisham novel where the main character is afflicted with the same condition. Well, I feel awful, I said. Maybe you should just put me down. Sure, I can put you down, she said. Putting people down is how I get my kicks. Just once, I would like to be taken seriously. Don't be silly, Margaret. Leprosy has been all but eradicated in the civilized world. That's osteoarthritis in your finger. Anyway, wait until you hear the latest. My GYN of many years has retired. Not to over-dramatize, but this is an event of cataclysmic proportion, the equivalent of a 7.5 on the Richter scale. Dr. Pearson wasn't just any doctor. He was a cross between Marcus Welby and Mr. Rogers, and the neighborhood would not be the same without him. So I asked Dr. Lisa if she'd like to recommend someone. She thought for a moment, smiled, and wrote down a name. What's he like, I asked. Is he any good? No, Margaret. He's a former butcher with no medical training whatsoever. See what I mean? The woman constantly acts like she has a bus to catch, but still makes time for sarcasm. To be honest, she continued, he's a little different from Dr. Pearson, but he's very experienced, and people tell me they like him. A little different? How do you mean, a little different? Well, for starters, she said, he's not much on small talk. With that, Dr. Lisa closed my folder and buzzed for the next patient. Let me know how it goes, Margaret. I'll see you in 3 months. Well, I had my first appointment with the new guy on Friday. The doctor's assistant put me in a gown and positioned me on the examining table, then left, saying, Dr. Berenstain will be with you in a minute. Now, I'm normally nervous in that position anyway, but with a new doctor, I was hyperventilating. A minute later, the door opened, then closed, but I saw no one from my supine position, though I thought I heard footsteps. Then, about 30 seconds later, as I was remembering Dr. Pearson's soothing and reassuring bedside manner, a voice exploded from under the paper sheet somewhere in the vicinity of my stockinged feet. The voice sounded like the bass from the Oak Ridge Boys, the one who sang Elvira. Hello, Miss Rowe. I'm about to get started down here. I popped up like a frozen waffle exiting the toaster and beheld a perfectly proportioned tiny man about the height of a bar stool at the end of the examining table. He was not sitting, he was standing. My sudden movement must have unnerved him, for his eyes were as big and round as donut holes. That's all I noticed before quickly looking away. As you know, I'm a great proponent of diversity and inclusion, and I would never think of staring. I once again assumed the position and tried very hard not to think about munchkins and lollipop kids. In fact, I remember nothing specific about the examination itself except for the fact that it was conducted in absolute silence. I did recall something Marcus Welby once said to an intern. You need to get closer to your work. Dr. Berenstain must have seen that episode. I was snapped back to reality when the rumbling resumed. "I'll talk to you in my office, Miss Rowe." And just like that, the tiny man with the enormous voice was gone, though I didn't see the door open. Perhaps he slid beneath it. Later, your father's comments were typical and practical. He probably has nice small hands. Anyway, Mike, I'm going to stick with Dr. Lisa. After all, she's kept me alive for 25 years, and it appears she has a sense of humor after all. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I can wait 3 months for my next appointment. My eyes have been bloodshot, you see. I'm lethargic, I have a dry cough, and my nose is warm. I'm pretty sure I have distemper. I can't wait to tell her. Love you, Mike. I'll let you know what she says. Thank you, Mother, for searing that visual into my retina. And happy Easter.